Welcome to the St. John Paul II National Shrine Annual Marian Festival of Lights, which this year coincides very happily with the vigil of the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe. So welcome to all those following this event on social media remotely. And we extend a warm welcome this evening to Dr. Ansel Augustin, the Director of the Office of Outreach and Diversity in the Archdiocese of Washington. And soon Bishop Mario Dorsonville, Auxiliary Bishop of Washington, will come to celebrate Mass, and we want to thank him because it is at his inspiration that the shrine began to host a vigil in honor of Our Lady of Guadalupe 3 years ago. In anticipation of this vigil, we want to thank our musicians, especially our co-directors this evening, Natalie Pusilo and Antonio Espinal, and Norberto and Alicia Pantoja, Sol and Isabel. And we have a special team of actors this evening. We have Ana Maria and Juan Diego Pantoja, Brother Matthew Tamoni from a Marian brother of the Immaculate, the province of the Immaculate Conception. And we have Dr. Maxime Nogier, our director, who is going to make a special appearance for us tonight. I need to give you a few elements so that you feel welcome in this play. You're going to be welcome into heaven. The scenes take place in heaven tonight. And the words are taken basically from two sources. One of the most ancient narrative of the story of Our Lady of Guadalupe and San Juan Diego from the 17th century, and from the words of Pope John Paul II himself, his homilies, and in particular his apostolic exhortation, Ecclesia in America. So the words you hear are coming from these sources, and the play is not going to be a reenactment of the story of Guadalupe. Rather, we will seek to celebrate the unique role of Our Lady of Guadalupe in the life of the American continent. So welcome again and enjoy the show.
Hail Mary, Mother of Mexico, Mother of Latin America, Mother who creates, preserves, and increases closeness between your children. The Mexican people, and indirectly the whole of this vast continent, lives its spiritual unity because you are its mother.
Dear Juan Pablo, my little child, my most little child, my most gentle little Pope, do you remember when you came to me on your first apostolic journey?
My lady, my dearest lady, do you remember I came from Poland, a country in which your images, especially that of Jasna Góra, are a sign of your presence in the life of the nation. I am particularly sensitive to this sign of your presence here in the life of the people of God in Mexico, in its history, a history which also has been tumultuous. I perceive in the depths of my heart the special bonds between you and the Mexican people.
I am equally present in the life of the many other peoples of America, guiding not only their past, but also the present moment, with its uncertainties and shadows.
That is why I asked that we reflect on America, both North and South, as a single entity, by reason of all that is common to the peoples of the continent, including their shared Christian identity. The decision to speak of America in the singular was an attempt to express the unity already existing, and also to point to that closer bond so greatly desired among its people. The Church wishes to foster this bond as part of her own mission as she works to promote the communion of all in the Lord. And you, Most Blessed Virgin, are uniquely linked to the birth of the Church in the history of the peoples of America. Through you, they come to encounter the Lord.
They have given me the affectionate name of La Morenita, and they like to sing to me La Guadalupana. My special bond with the Mexican people began in 1531, a mere 10 years after the tragic events of the Great Temple Massacre. It took place between the Spanish conquistadores and the Aztec elites who were celebrating in Tenochtitlan, the capital of the Aztec Empire. It was a spectacular city, comparable in size to the greatest capital cities of Europe. In fact, it was 5 times larger than London at that time. While they did not yet know my son, the peoples of Mesoamerica were deeply religious, with a strong theology of time and a thirst for eternal life. Even the practice of human sacrifice was an expression of their theology, which, though imperfect, was awaiting the fullness of revelation. I could barely wait to meet them.
These people would become the saints of America, the finest fruits and the true expression of America's Christian identity. The fruits of holiness have indeed flourished from the first days of the evangelization of America. These new world flowers have blossomed across the range of nations and social backgrounds, even to the present day.
Among all the flowers, I had noticed one in particular.
Juan Diego, a good Indian. Thanks to the work of those who had just begun to preach the gospel in this land, he had become a Christian. Let us listen to the witness of his life. It continues to inspire the building up of the Mexican nation, encouraging brotherhood among all its children, and helping reconcile America with its origins, values, and traditions.
My lady, my queen, my little girl, do you remember when we first met on the hill of Tepeyac? You surprised me with a marvelous celestial song. I heard you call out, Juanito, on that morning of December 1531, through you, God awakened the hope of his son, Juan Diego. I was a poor, ordinary man at the bottom of society, yet you entrusted me with bringing your message to the bishop. You wanted a chapel built in your honor on that very hill to bring hope to your people.
Yes, a temple where I would manifest, make known, and give to people all my love, compassion, aid, and protection. For I am the compassionate mother of you, and of all your people in this land, and of the other various peoples who love me, who cry out to me, who seek me, who trust in me.
On that morning, through you, God roused the hope of the little ones, of the suffering, of those displaced or rejected, of all who feel they have no worthy place in these lands. On that morning, God came close and still comes close to the weeping and sorrowful in order to remedy and heal all their various afflictions, miseries, and torments.
Am I not here who am your mother? Are you not under my protective shade, my shadow? Am I not your happiness? Are you not in the security of my lapfold, in my carrying gear? Do you need something more?
My dear lady, I remember that you gave me miraculous flowers to bring to the bishop. Those Castilian roses were unknown in the New World and growing among the barren rocks and thorns. I had picked those flowers out of the winter frost, and you yourself arranged them in my tilma. It was already a miracle in itself, but you exceeded all expectations when I presented the roses to the bishop. As if more was needed, your image also appeared.
My appearance must have been a great surprise to everyone, and you, the little Indian Juan, who called himself a leather strap, a back frame, a tail, a wing, oppressed by another's burden, became the ambassador, most worthy of trust.
Yes, and I spent the rest of my life welcoming pilgrims to your shrine on Tepeyac.
The Guadalupe event meant the beginning of evangelization with a vitality beyond all expectations. Christ's message, through his mother, took up the central elements of the indigenous culture, purified them, and gave them the definitive sense of salvation. Consequently, Guadalupe and Juan Diego have a deep ecclesial and missionary meaning. They are a model of perfectly enculturated evangelization.
Heavenly Lady, let's go over again what your indigenous mantle means so that we can explain it to all your children.
The floral design overlying my tunic consists of 3 kinds of flowers, 8-petaled flowers, a flower cluster, and a single 4-petaled jasmine. For the Mesoamericans, this 4-petaled jasmine flower symbolizes the 4 directions of the cosmos. Its 5th point is in the center, symbolizes the sunflower that represents the only living and true God. The positioning of the jasmine flower is just below my pregnancy belt. It identifies my child as divine.
This flower shows my people that the Almighty God is interested in them and delivers himself to mankind through his mother.
8 times this 8-petaled flower, symbolizing the planet Venus, appears to announce the beginning of a new age of harmony, according to the complex cosmological calendars of the Aztecs.
On the tilma, we see the sun and moon eclipsed by the Virgin. The sun and the planets are in harmony and proclaim the birth of Christ, who was born at a time when the world was at peace.
Lastly, there is a cluster of small flowers, viewed upside down, the triangular blossom and the curving stem resemble a heart and its arteries.
Unlike the ancient sacrifices, this heart is a divine heart, God's own blood and love. The main vessels are attached to the heavens shown on the Virgin's mantle. In this, God is revealed as the true giver of life. One flower is just above the Virgin's hands, clasped in prayer. Now we place our prayers in your hands so that you may then present them to the true God.
Juan Diego, Mexico needs its indigenous peoples, and they need Mexico. Our God makes no distinctions of race or culture. In accepting the Christian message without foregoing his indigenous identity, Juan Diego discovered the profound truth of the new humanity, in which all are called to be children of God.
Since that December morning when I walked through Tepeyac, wearing the indigenous garb and using their language, I have continued to accompany the development of this blessed American land.
Let's now welcome the newest blessed who has flowered in this land.
This reminds me my first assignment as a priest back in the basement of St. Mary's, where I would put on plays with the children for my parishioners. We also played baseball. Hey, Mary, through her, God has made himself our brother and companion for the journey. Hello, my name is Father Michael McGivney. My story began when my parents, Patrick and Mary Lynch McGivney, braved the cold seas and left everything behind to immigrate from Ireland to the United States. I was then born in Waterbury, Connecticut, the oldest of 13. It was in this family that I first received and lived my Christian faith, sharing the joy of knowing that we are not alone, that Mary is with us.
How can we fail to emphasize the role which belongs to the Virgin Mary in relation to the Pilgrim Church in America, journeying towards its encounter with the Lord? Immigration continues even today, especially with many families from Latin American countries who have moved to the northern parts of the continent. They often bring with them a cultural and religious heritage which is rich in Christian elements. Church communities will see in these people a specific call to live in evangelical fraternity and strengthen their own religious spirit.
Immigrants, migrants, refugees, those who felt forgotten and alone, and all should be met with a hospitable and welcoming attitude, which encourages them to become part of the church life, always with a due regard for their freedom and their specific cultural identity.
In order to walk the path of solidarity, she must devote special attention to those ethnic groups which even today experience discrimination. I think of Americans of African descent still suffering from ethnic prejudice, a serious obstacle to their encounter with Christ. It is necessary to encourage concrete occasions aimed at promoting understanding and reconciliation between different people.
Just as I came to Juan Diego, I continue to reveal myself to all. My preferential choice for Juan Diego was not against anyone, but rather in favor of everyone, especially of those who feel worthless, as he did.
Yes. Do you remember when I accompanied a young prisoner, James Chip Smith? He had been convicted of murdering a friend of his and sentenced to death. I fought for his pardon or a different sentence, but my attempts failed. It wrung my heart, and it was a crushing weight. Throughout it all, I helped Chip draw closer to Christ, and he asked for prayers for a holy death. I arranged for Mass with a 24-voice choir to be celebrated right there in the jail the day before his death. His prayers were then granted on that fateful day. He offered up the thrones of his death in reparation for any of his faults and sins upon earth. He offered it up for us and for the salvation of souls. He even consoled me when I found it difficult to go through with accompanying him to the gallows. And he died a holy death. Do you remember Holy Mary? He left me flowers in bloom in his empty cell, and his departing gift to me. The crushing weight has been replaced by the promise of these flowers.
Father McGivney's vision remains as relevant as ever in the changed circumstances of today's church and society. May you continue to seek new ways of being a leaven of the gospel in the world, and a spiritual force for the renewal of the church in holiness, unity, and truth.
I have the honor of being your mother. Those who suffer do not weep in vain. They are a silent prayer rising to heaven, always finding a place in my mantle.
Today, she sends us out anew. As she did Juan Diego today, she comes to tell us again, be my ambassador, the one I sent to build many new shrines, accompany many lives, wipe away many tears. Simply be my ambassador by walking along the path of your neighborhood, of your community, of your parish. Be my ambassador, she says to us, giving food to the hungry, drink to those who thirst, a refuge to those in need, clothe the naked, and visit the sick. Come to the aid of those in prison. Do not leave them alone. Forgive whoever has offended you. Console the grieving. Be patient with others. Teach the truth of the gospel. And above all, beseech and pray to God. And in the silence, tell Him what is in our heart.
Am I not your mother? Am I not here with you? Go and build my shrine. Help me lift up the lives of my sons and daughters, who are your brothers and sisters.
Some silence may do us good now. And in the silence, and in this looking at her, we will hear what she says to us once more. What, my most precious little one, saddens your heart? Am I not here with you, who have the honor of being your mother? We pause to look upon her and pray together.
Simply looking at you, O Mother, having eyes only for you, looking upon you without saying anything, telling you everything wordlessly and reverently. Do not perturb the air before you, only cradle my stolen certitude in your loving motherly eyes. In the nest of your clear ground, hours tumble by, and with much commotion, the wastage of life and death sinks its teeth into foolish men. Having eyes for you, O Mother, simply contemplating you, with a heart quieted in your tenderness, that silence of yours, chaste as the lilies.
Please follow me in procession.